Richard Chater, scene 1, take 2. My name's Richard, I'm a final year medical student and I have the incredibly interesting hobby of personal finance. It comes in two parts, I suppose. So there's deposit and then the mortgage. So as far as deposit's concerned, when I was 16 in year 11, I had a friend who he basically came into maths and he was amazing suddenly. So we asked him why, and he told us that he had a private tutor that was getting paid £17 an hour, which blew my 16-year-old mind. And I've basically spent the last 6-7 years tutoring privately. So that's pretty much how I built up the deposit. As much of money of that as I had, I paid into a Help to Buy ISA, now a lifetime ISA, to get a 25% bonus and just sort of saved as much as I could. And then from the mortgage perspective, I started to build up my credit score as early as possible. I had a friend who also wanted to get on the property ladder and was in a similar situation to me whereby they wouldn't have been able to quite afford it themselves, and so we teamed up and bought a flat together. And then finally I used a mortgage broker as well. So I was able to use them to sort of optimise how much I'd be lended to. A mortgage broker is basically a person that has a relationship with lots of different banks. And what that means is that they will know the people that will be best suited to your circumstances. For example, with me, all of my income was from self-employment. So making sure that the mortgage broker had a relationship with a bank that would be especially happy to deal with somebody that was self-employed is useful. When it came to my brokerage, I paid them about £300. So I made sure beforehand that the mortgage brokers that I was speaking to wouldn't accept payment until after I'd accepted their mortgage. What that meant is that I could go around multiple different brokers and make sure that I was getting the best deal first. Some brokers will basically make you pay to get the offer. I know that Wesleyan have relationships with banks that are particularly heading towards healthcare workers because that's their specialism. Whilst I paid my mortgage broker £300, with Wesleyan, they don't charge that fee to you. So like the Robin Hood of personal finance, they charge it back to the bank. Mortgage affordability is basically how much a bank is willing to lend to you. So that comes in two parts. It comes in how much you're earning and then how much you're using more than a normal person might expect. So, for example, when it came to how much I was earning, that came from declaring all of my income that was possible. And then on the other side of it, it was reducing my spending. For example, I had a car finance at the time, but then the mortgage broker told me that it would cause problems and it would reduce the amount of mortgage, which is another benefit of using a mortgage broker. They can sort of hold your hand through the process. But more or less, when it comes to affordability, it will be about 3 to 5 times your income. It'll be a bit higher, maybe closer to the 5 end if you use a mortgage broker, closer to the 3 end maybe if you went straight to a bank typically. In terms of other aspects I think need to be mentioned that really benefited me when I was trying to buy a property are things mostly related to Rightmove. So there are Chrome extensions which you can use. Off the top of my head, I think there's Property Log and Property Tracker. And basically what they will do is just give you extra information and extra research when you're looking. So for example, one of them will tell you every time there's been a price change for a property. So when you do a search on Rightmove and you find a set of properties that you're interested in, it will tell you when it was put on and it will tell you every time the price has changed for that property. And that just gives you a little bit more confidence and a little bit more knowledge when you're trying to put an offer in maybe. So if you see that a place started at 200,000 and has been creeping down over the last year and a half and is now at 150,000, that might make you a little bit more confident to put in a cheeky offer because they probably really want to sell it. And on the other one, I think it's called Property Tracker, they will basically give you market details. So they'll tell you, say, what the average price of a 2-bed property is in your area, or they will tell you the trend of property prices in the area. As well as that, so I also made sure that I really understood what was going on locally. So I took one afternoon on like a Sunday and I went through every single property that was in the area that I was interested in for the price that I was interested in, and made sure that I had an idea what was going on. And then over a period of 6 to 12 months before I was even thinking about buying something, I just kept on it every single week, checked what was going on, and it gave me an idea of what reasonable prices were, what was a bit concerning maybe, because if you don't realise what's going on in the area, when you see a place that looks really cheap, you might think it's a bargain, but if you've spent 12 months checking Rightmove, you'll probably think, oh, there's something dodgy about that. Another thing that you can do, especially with sort of the mortgages that Wesleyan might be able to help you find, they will often accept your contract up to 3 months beforehand, which is especially important this time of year, because with foundation programs starting in August, you might be able to start applying for a mortgage in July, which means that when you start working, you're not going to have to try and start thinking about moving, start thinking about putting offers on places right as you're starting working, if you are in a fortunate position to be able to afford to buy somewhere.